I-10 area, Lafayette, we're watching you. Got a number of warnings up and down along this line, and including severe thunderstorm and including tornadoes. So we'll dive into that. First, just to set the background stage today with a tornado watch that has been posted. Now, this goes until 1 o'clock this afternoon. This will be the kind of day where multiple watches get issued through the day, so be ready to see if your area is under one. A watch means that you need to be ready for that potential of severe weather and possible tornadoes. It doesn't mean it's imminent, then a warning would be issued, but it means it's going to be possible in the next several hours. So Hattiesburg, even up to Jackson here, concerns for that today. So let's dive into the radar right now with a lot of lightning ongoing. These storms are very convective. They're very energetic. We see that moving again towards Lafayette and Baton Rouge. Morgan City, you're under severe thunderstorm warning. New Orleans, we've got multiple storms out there for you as well. There's sort of two things going on right now. This main line with all the lightning that you see, and that's the one again that did all that damage, but out ahead of it, we're getting some additional storms develop, and we're tracking those coming up from the south. We're tracking this line coming in from the west. So again, multiple areas that we are watching for very active weather, continuing to see that concern. We also have heavy rain that is happening out here as well. Alexandria, up towards Jackson, where we picked up record rainfall yesterday, and we continue to get some heavy rain, and we're not even in the worst of the rainfall for today yet. So let's dive into some of the rainfall around New Orleans, where it's been heavy there as well. South of there, a severe thunderstorm warning, parts of Jefferson, Lafourche, and St. Charles Parish. Now, I want to point out something important here, that severe thunderstorm warning that's in place, severe winds, the most likely threat, but it says tornado possible on this warning here, right in here. And so watching the radar, there's been a little area of concern of some broad rotation, not tight enough to indicate a need for a tornado warning, but something to watch. So you want to be ready. You know that there's the chance that you may get a tornado warning in this area. Here's that little area of rotation. Let me see, right in here. Again, very broad. It's not tight. It's not strong, but it is there, and it's enough to trigger at least us and the National Weather Service, especially, to be monitoring this particular warning for that possibility. Rainfall is going to be heavy. We actually have a flash flood warning up to the north. Let's track this cell and track it up to the north, where it's likely to track to Estelle at 8:09, New Orleans 8:20. Again, outside of the severe thunderstorm warning in New Orleans, but if that holds together, and we'll be watching that risk get into New Orleans about 8:20, Gentilly 8:26. Again, outside of the warned area, but just want to give you that heads up for tracking purposes of what we are dealing with. We're watching this whole area. I mean, so much active weather. You notice how this is moving. Use blue so you can really get the difference. This is moving. These cells here in the New Orleans area are moving from south to north. That's out ahead of this main little area of convection. This, which is got that backward C shape to it. Oftentimes that indicates some very strong damaging wind potential. And as we watch this continuing to move east, places like New Roads, Croat Springs, you're in the thick of it right now. We are likely to see damaging winds there. Baton Rouge, you're under severe thunderstorm warning because of that moving east. Baton Rouge, Central, Zachary. And you notice the threat on this warning says destructive. These winds have the potential to be up over 60 miles per hour, maybe even up over 70 miles per hour. So we are watching for that threat as this moves east. We'll be, I think, if you have any visibility out there, you're likely to see a big shelf cloud advecting in Baton Rouge. We'll have to keep an eye on any cameras in that area if you're looking west. But again, we're tracking this. I mean, the winds are showing us the indication that we'll have some very strong winds moving east. All right, one more stop here, a severe thunderstorm warning in Abbeville, Morgan City, and New Iberia. This one also says tornado possible. So again, that's all part of that backward C-shaped line that we're tracking. But again, watching for that risk where there could be some rotation. Let's see, right in here, perhaps. It's on the leading edge. So all things to consider and watch here, but make sure you are ready for all warnings and know to take action. Let's watch and look at the forecast for today, Greg, here, because this whole system is going to be moving east. So let's go right into that. This is in Louisiana. So we've been watching this line of storms that's continuing to track eastward. This is north of Baton Rouge here in northern parts here, the boot of Louisiana. This is where we have a new tornado warning. It includes parts of of East Feliciana, Point Coupe, and West Feliciana parishes. Cities like Jackson, St. Francisville, and Wilson here in Louisiana are included. Now, along this line, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for the risk of strong, damaging winds. There's a little portion of it now that has a tornado warning, and that's what we are tracking. It is a radar indicated risk of rotation that this has been warned on. Along a line like this, sometimes you get these little areas of rotation, and they are tough to see on radar. They happen quickly, they cycle through, they change very rapidly, sometimes even between radar scans. And so certainly watching for that risk right here. This is around the New Roads area. It's tracking, the whole storm itself, or the whole cell is tracking towards the east, a little bit more to the north of east. So we're watching cities like Jackson here in Louisiana as well. Again, watching this move to the north and east. It'll cross right over Highway 61 as we watch this storm movement. Now, it will have a lot of lightning. It will have a lot of heavy rain with it here. It's kind of going to come in as what will feel like a wall of water because the rainfall will be very heavy. This is the area of concern right now, looking at the radar just north of New Roads. But again, the way that any rotation normally works along these lines, this is a bigger line of storms, is that they are very transient. They can lift, they can change. And so we always watch for that, knowing that there's uncertainty and, exactly where it will be and how strong it will be if there is any rotation that's creating a tornado that has reached the ground. But the risk is here. So we've got to track it for you. St. Francisville, 814, Cole, 820, Jackson, we take it to you at 823. And then outside of the warning area at 832 is the community of Clinton, which is also under a severe thunderstorm warning as well. So along this whole bow echo right here, there is that risk of very strong damaging winds, a tornado warning contained within it, multiple severe thunderstorm warnings, including tracking up towards New Orleans. We'll be right back with more coverage on that. Continue to watch that. So breaking news right now with warnings that continue to be very active right here across southern Louisiana. We've got a number of severe thunderstorm warnings, and we have one tornado warning right now that is north of Baton Rouge. Again, Charles was just south of that area, not in the tornado warned area, but south of there, where we do have this very heavy rain that is coming down, and we'll be watching for all the risks, the strong damaging wind potential. Again, north of Baton Rouge, we do have this tornado warning up here in the northern part of the boot of Louisiana. And then we also have a couple of flash flood warnings that we are tracking as well. This is all in an area under a tornado watch. Remember, a watch means conditions are favorable for the risk of severe weather. When there's a warning, it means that weather is imminent. So all of these zones in a watch, including New Orleans, including Hattiesburg, including in Jackson, Mississippi. Here are the warning areas, and we've got a severe thunderstorm warning right now just south of New Orleans. We've got another one over here to the west. We've really got two separate areas of active weather. So these storms, I'm just going to draw on here to show the direction. These storms are out ahead of the main line, and they're coming up, moving from south to north. And then we've got our line itself, which is actually moving from west to east. So a number of areas that we're going to continue to track here. Let's show you some of the storm reports so you can see what kind of storms we're dealing with. Already a history of some tree limbs that have broken, 3-inch tree limbs broken in Washington. This is right along I-49. This is Lafayette area, and down towards south of there in Broussard, report of a 1-inch tree limbs that were broken and some shingles that were blown off. Here in Cankton, which is just north of Lafayette, reports of damage and heavy debris at Diamond Lane. There also possible tornado. So the Weather Service will have a lot to look at once the storms end. Right now, they're in full forecast mode here, making sure that everyone is safe with the warnings that are needed. This tornado warning that we're tracking for you, which includes parts of Louisiana and communities like Jackson, St. Francisville, and Wilson. This is in effect until 8:30 local time. This is moving right over Highway 61, tracking to the north and east. Now, again, you see this whole line itself, that backward C, that indicates that likely some strong potential damaging winds are going to come out of this line. But also along it, there are areas of potential rotation. And so watching that, looks like right here, just north of the Jackson area, that would be one zone to keep an eye on. It's these little notches on the line that can sometimes have that potential for rotation. Always difficult to see. You wouldn't necessarily see a funnel or see a tornado down to the ground because there's there's so much rain in the area. You saw that visibility. In fact, you can see it right here on the screen next to me that, the visibility from Charles Peak's shot, and he's not far from this, is very low because of the heavy rainfall. Let's track this. This cell, the one that has a tornado warning on it, to 825 at Slaughter, Clinton 832. Again, we're in Louisiana. Blairstown 834, Chipola 842, and then Greensburg. Some of these communities are outside of the Warren area, so actually Clinton, Blairstown, and Chipola and Greensburg. But just want to give you a sense of where it's tracking, so we don't have a ton of time. You want to make sure that you're ready to take action and get into your safe spot. Okay, watching this storm as it continues to track east. The whole line itself is a couple of areas with severe thunderstorm warnings on it. Down here through New Orleans, now not New Orleans itself, which is south of there, John Lafitte, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning. It includes Estelle, Marrero, and Woodmere. It has tornado possible in the tags. That's something to monitor, but right now it is a severe thunderstorm warning for strong damaging wind potential. Tracking up to
damaging wind gusts, tornado activity. There's a lot ongoing out there, and you can clearly see as we show you the radar picture, it is a very busy picture here moving across Louisiana and now pushing into Mississippi.
So let's dive into some of the warnings that we are tracking for you. We've got a number of severe thunderstorm warnings. Those are the ones outlined in yellow. I know there's a lot on this map, a lot of colors here, but these are the outlined areas of where the severe thunderstorm warnings are, including one now that has just been issued for New Orleans. So that's a new one.
Yeah, absolutely. Watching for damaging wind gusts. That's the main risk here as this drives its way on through. But I'd be looking out here for maybe even as it clearly says tornado possible. It kind of looked a little almost hookish there as it's just west and north and west of Jean Lafitte. So be on the lookout. Could easily spin up quickly here, and they could issue a tornado warning at any moment. So be prepared for that as it's pushing now through New Orleans.
It's such a chaotic atmosphere when you kind of look at everything going on. There's so much on the radar. We've got these isolated cells out ahead of the main line that are continuing to track up from south to north, and moving a little towards the northeast. But these are the ones you really often watch out for the risk of rotation. I mean, it's broad,
right,
but just north of Jean Lafitte, it is there.
Yes, so the broad rotation around, not prompting the tornado warning at this point, but again, it could tighten up and a warning could be issued. So being prepared for that to take shape is what you want to be doing there in and around New Orleans. That severe thunderstorm warning is in place until 9:30, kind of timing out this particular storm itself as it's tracking on off towards the north a bit. The Bissonnette Plaza area around 8:35, Little Woods, 8:45 there for you. It'll be on top of you. And then approaching 9 o'clock, heads up around South Point.
Okay, so we're tracking this storm. So there's also a flash flood warning, too, that's in the background. So that's another threat here. And you think about where's your safest place to be. We don't have basements really in New Orleans. So, but luckily that's the case. Interior room for you if there's a tornado warning, interior room, bathroom, closet would be it. And all of these severe thunderstorm warnings say tornado possible. So now we've got this other one that is just west of New Orleans, again tracking from southwest to northeast. This is not part of the main line, but we're watching communities like Laplace, Reserve, Chalk Bay, all under the severe thunderstorm warning.
And again, you can see the general motion on off towards the north and the east, showing some signs, not seeing too much in the way of rotation, but certainly some strong winds coming with this thing as it's pushing its way to now just to the south and west of Laplace. So this again, more dangerous storms, and then we got more activity back towards the west, blasting into Baton Rouge.
Really strong winds. Greg, what do you think about the wind potential here coming into Baton Rouge?
Yeah,
let's talk travel conditions. Obviously, that was I-20, so obviously there could be some issues out there. When it comes to travel, rainfall causing the potential for flooding is going to be a big concern across eastern Texas, southern Arkansas, a lot of Louisiana, Mississippi, nearly the whole state under a flood watch. And then we've got a lot of south and central Alabama into even Georgia and the Florida Panhandle with a flood watch as well. Heavy rainfall has already been out there. You can see where we are right now with it. Now, across a little bit of southern Arkansas, but Louisiana taking the brunt of it right now. But this rain is moving into Mississippi, where we had very heavy rain yesterday. Jackson, we had our 7th wettest April day on record yesterday with more than 4 inches, nearly 5 inches of rain. And now we're about to get more coming in there. In fact, it has started raining already. Just in the past 6 hours, we've seen this very heavy rainfall here across eastern Texas and southwestern Louisiana. You see this little area outlined here in bright pink. This is a flash flood emergency that we've been tracking just south of Jasper in Texas. It's north of Beaumont, south of Jasper. That area, again, inches and inches of rainfall, more than 5 or 6 inches of rain. It came down in a very short time. the rainfall rates when that was all happening was on the order of 4 or 5 inches an hour. If you can imagine that kind of buckets of rain coming from the sky here. Very tough for any areas of drainage to keep up with. Now, today the concern is still very high when we have a look at travel across southeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, into Alabama. You get ready here, I-65, parts of I-20, if you're traveling I-10, all are going to be impacted by these storms that are tracking east. Right now, it's I-10 that is feeling the worst of it, Alex, here as the storm rolls out of Baton Rouge and east and heading towards New Orleans. That's going to be a nasty wind maker, unfortunately. C-shape right here. This is what just came through Baton Rouge. We're behind the leading edge of the strongest winds, but wow. Charles Peak described it as sort of being in a washing machine.
Right.
And that's what it's like right there.
Absolutely. So that is all racing on off towards the east. There's Interstate 55 from Jackson through Macomb, getting it out in Louisiana. And so we have to watch out because those winds are going to be blasting, crossing over 55. So that north and south motion of cars going to be facing that crosswind can be even more dangerous here. Really got to be mindful. I would say avoid getting out there until this mess moves on by. Then we've got a tornado warning here in parts of Louisiana and now Mississippi.
This is for parts of St. Tammany Parish, also parts of Hancock and Pearl River counties in Mississippi. This includes Pearl River and Picayune. This goes until 9:30 local time. So this is for a cell that's out ahead of that line that we were just tracking coming through Baton Rouge. I know it's complicated, but we want to break it down for you so you can see what's coming your way. This area right here, just to the north and west of Pearl River, is the area of rotation that has been indicated by Doppler radar.
Yeah, so that is generally tracking on off towards the north and the east, maybe paralleling 59 a bit. But I would certainly say if you're in Picayune, you want to make sure you're getting into your safe zone now. Lowest floor of a sturdy structure is where you want to be and away from windows in an interior room.
That little area that I was just highlighting, just north of the area of rotation, indicating some stronger winds too. So we're looking at a pretty active thunderstorm that's tracking right up here. Picayune tracking it to you at 8:57. Cary. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, 9:08. Henleyfield, 9:14. Still in the warning, Derby at 9:29. Then outside of the warning, Poplarville, 9:42, if it does indeed hold together.
At the very least, heavy rain is on the way in those areas and strong winds as well. We've been tracking storms in and around New Orleans. Still under a severe thunderstorm warning there in the city itself until 9:30. For you, tornado possible tag on this as well. We've been watching this storm because it's been showing some signs of some very broad rotation. And still a bit of that in place right now, but it hasn't tightened up. And so the National Weather Service is watching this closely for at least that possibility here of a tornado warning to be issued. But for now, the main threat is going to be some of those damaging wind gusts. Again, strong winds here, particularly now on the southeast side there of New Orleans.
And some very heavy rainfall as well. So let's talk more about all the risks that we're dealing with today. Greg, we're going to see this severe threat continue as the whole system kind of moves east.
Yeah, we are. And you guys are talking about and highlighting the exact weather system that we need to track because it's going to very likely be controlling our severe weather going forward. It is indeed this what's called MCS, mesoscale convective system, meaning it's small, it's driven by thunderstorms, and it's a system that's rapidly moving eastward right along the I-10 corridor along the Gulf of Mexico there. Now, what's interesting about this, and the reason why it's got that kind of swirly appearance to it, is because it's generated in its own sort of inside an area of low pressure aloft, say about 10, 15,000 feet above the ground. There is actually a little area of low pressure there behind the main squall line, which is actually right in there. So what we're seeing is this area of this thunderstorm line is being driven and pushed forward by that area of low pressure aloft that's been created, believe it or not, in the Anvil region of the squall line itself. So it generated its own area of low pressure aloft. There's the thunderstorm. This is kind of looking at a vertical slice, right? There are the big thunderstorms. This is the arc, that Boeing line that we showed you. Very heavy rain and strong gusty winds, perhaps 60 to 80 miles per hour. Way back in here, aloft, high above the ground, there is still precipitation falling here, and that precipitation evaporates and cools the air locally, and that cooling creates a little swirl over time over the 12-hour period here and creates an area of spin aloft. That's what's called a mesoscale convective vortex. It's a swirly that is created in the Anvil region back behind this squall line. How about that? And that's exactly what we've got. And this is what we need to track going forward. This is why it's important. This is not some silly academic exercise. We got to track that area of low pressure as it moves eastbound because it's going to contain with it that severe weather threat. And that is exactly why the Storm Prediction Center's outlook looks the way it does. It's been contracted because of the very nature and movement of that MCV across the region. And guess what? We're going to continue with that severe weather threat during the day in that zone. Montgomery, onto the beaches.
My Lowe's Rewards credit card saves us 5% on the things we need. 5% off, 5% off, 5% off.
And as loyalty members, we get points toward Milo's money for the things we want.
Oh, we want this.
The all-new Milo's Rewards loyalty program is here. Download the app to join, earn, and save today.
At Honda, we've chased down a lot of dreams, each one leading to the next. All the way to our latest. Introducing the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue. Our latest innovation on the road to being carbon neutral by 2050. And certainly not our last.
Uh-oh, you heard a screech outside at night, but you can't see what it is because there's not enough light. You need the Bionic Floodlight from Bell & Howell, the solar-powered, motion-activated, multi-directional floodlight that showers a super span of light right where you need it. Simply stake it in the yard or mount it anywhere around your home. The onboard solar panel absorbs the sun all day to energize a flood of light at night. No wires or installation frustration. Watch. The instant motion is detected. The Bionic Floodlight triggers 108 high-intensity LED bulbs on 3 separate panels. That instantly blasts an area of over 1,000 square feet with bright, penetrating light, then automatically shuts off after the motion stops. Each panel is fully adjustable to direct the right light to the right spot. The Bionic Floodlight is the versatile wireless, safety, security, and outdoor lifestyle light you'll love. And it's from Bell & Howell, the brand name your family has trusted for over 100 years. No more arriving to a dark driveway or house at night. Place them in the ground to illuminate walkways and entryways. Add an evening accent light to your garden or mount it to keep unwanted critters away. Adjust the panels to light your deck and your food on the grill at the same time. Add light by the hot tub or pool without dangerous electrical wires. Host the nighttime neighborhood hoops games and enjoy the great outdoors at night, right out your back door or in the backyard. Move it anywhere for any reason and in any weather in any season. Best of all, it's backed by our exclusive Bell & Howell Bionic 10-year satisfaction guarantee. Get the Bionic Floodlight by Bell & Howell, and right now it's yours for just $29.95. But wait, call right now and you can get a second Bionic Floodlight for 50% off, and we'll even ship it to you free. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-615-6017 or go to bionicfloodlight.com. So call 1-800-615-6017. That's 1-800-615-6017 or order online at bionicfloodlight.com.
Password.
The corners pop at night. Pop corners. Heard they're the cat's meow.
Of course. It's because they're popped, not fried. Knock yourself out.
Delicious. What is he wearing?
Bro, I said dress like a cop busting a speakeasy.
I thought you told me it was a sleepeasy.
And that made sense to you? Don't answer that.
Special occasion?
Shop Macy's Great Shoe Sale.
I'm gonna shine on the star.
Complete your look for any occasion with up to 40% off this season's must-haves. Now at Macy's.
A new round of storms firing up right now, sending severe threats racing across the South for a third straight day.
Hazards from gusty wind to flooding have already created life-threatening problems along Interstate 10.
Yeah, the risks go up into the afternoon and evening hours. The more communities to deal with similar threats going forward in the next 24 to 36 hours.
The Weather Channel's extended coverage will help guide you through all of today's severe weather threats.
Yeah, and you can stay prepared here on air and, of course, on the TWC streaming app as well.
Schools, several schools, in fact, from Texas to Louisiana, they've had to close because of flooding. And the LSU campus, they closed. You got a high school there, Kirbyville in Texas, also closing. So this has certainly had some impacts here already this morning. And, you know, we still have these storms that are ongoing and continue to go for the rest of this day.
Yeah, so, you know, we're watching what's happening with the storms in Sevier right now. The heavy rainfall has already been a problem. That will actually, I think, continue to get worse today with the risk of flooding. So let's look at all of it. We've got to look at the warnings for you right now where we're tracking a lot of active weather across southern Louisiana. A number of warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, and we have one tornado warning that is active right now. This is actually now moving from Louisiana into Mississippi. So we're seeing that progression of storms. Just to give you kind of the big picture, I don't know what color to use because all the colors are on the radar, right? I'll use blue. These thunderstorm cells are the ones that are outside of the main line. And then we've got the main line right here, this little bow echo that is tracking east. So we've got two separate areas but adjacent of severe weather potential. So let's zoom in first to the line that's coming through Baton Rouge and what it's done already. St. Francisville got winds of 60 miles per hour out of that in New Roads. Remember, we were watching a tornado warning there. Winds had gusted to 62 miles per hour at the automated weather station there. And numerous storm reports have come out of Lafayette area, again, where this bow echo has already come through. And again, tracking that right now, you can see it right here. It's through Baton Rouge. The worst of the wind potential is through Baton Rouge. Now we're in the very heavy rainfall threat, and a new flash flood warning just went up there. New Orleans, we're under a flash flood warning as well as a severe thunderstorm warning. And we're also tracking that tornado warning for you here just in the Picayune area in Mississippi. So tracking that, the Pearl River County and St. Tammany Parish, portions of those are under this tornado warning. It does include Picayune. This goes until 9:30 local time. We're tracking this particular portion of the cell that's tracking mainly to the north and east. As this does include Interstate 59. We're going to be watching this zone again for all the hazards. And we've got a lot of heavy rain, blinding rain, actually, so it's very difficult to see. If you're under this warning, make sure you seek shelter and get into your safe area, interior room, putting as many walls between you and the outside as possible. A storm shelter, if you're in a mobile home, a storm shelter is the safest place to be. So this area right in here is where we're tracking that apparent rotation on radar. We're tracking that and moving it to the north and east. Highway 11 is right within this warning as well, along with I-59. You can see kind of this moving like this, so likely could track right over both of those, Highway 11 and 59. Again, watching this as we continue to track the movement off to the north and east. St. Tammany Parish and Pearl River, again, under this warning until 9:30 local time. So this does include Picayune at 9:03. It's basically right here, right now. We track it north of there to 9:14, McNeil, 9:20, Derby at 9:34, and then Poplarville, which is just outside of the warning at 9:47. If it does indeed that area rotation hold together here, you'll need to take action. Let's jump down into New Orleans, and we do have a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Orleans and St. Bernard parishes. This one does say tornado possible. So still watching this cell. We've been tracking this cell for quite a while. It's always had that sort of potential for rotation with it, but it hasn't panned out, thankfully, yet enough to warrant a tornado warning. But that potential is there. And it's right in here, actually, just east of New Orleans, where that potential rotation is. Again, not tight enough to warrant a tornado warning, but something to keep an eye on. So make sure that you are ready and keeping an eye on this. You're ready in case a tornado warning is issued. This is the kind of storm you just want to avoid being outside and avoid traveling if you can. It's moving to the north and east, and we're seeing a lot of heavy rain within that as well, which is why there are some flash flood warnings there in the background as well. All right, let's go back to, this is the big bow echo that we're tracking. I know it's a very complicated radar, so I'll keep trying to break this down for you. Along this line is where we do have some of the potential for some of the strongest winds that we've been tracking so far today. Livingston, St. Helena, Tangipahoa, parishes, parts of Amite and Pike County, and this as well up into Mississippi. Denham Springs, Hammond, and Macomb in Mississippi under this as well. This is I-55. So this is the area that we're watching. It's that leading edge. This is going to be moving right over I-55 down towards Hammond. This has the potential to bring very strong winds here, potentially in excess of 60 or 70 miles per hour plus. So watching that tracking east, Greg, here, keep an eye on that. And that little, the energy associated with that is going to be what drives a lot of our other severe weather today. Timing things out for you. We're watching right now a lot of active weather, a lot of warnings, a lot of colors on the radar. But we've got this rain tracking east, heading towards Hattiesburg in Mississippi. Mike Seidel will be reporting live from there coming up here in less than 2 hours. So we'll get an update of what's happening there. We're going to be watching in New Orleans, up towards Jackson. There's not just the severe threat when it comes to wind, hail, and tornadoes. There's also heavy rain concerns. And we do have flash flood warnings. Jackson here in Mississippi, in Hinds County, Madison County, Rankin County, including Jackson, Pearl, and Clinton. We have a flash flood warning. And we had nearly 5 inches of rain yesterday. It was our 7th wettest April day on record. And we could double it today with more rain coming on in. That's a possibility. We also have a 3 on the Chorcon in Jackson as well. So that severe threat is there with the risk of storms that may produce tornadoes. We have likely to see some very strong winds coming out of thunderstorms. So that the background here, these colors, the bright pink, is very likely that we could see thunderstorms of winds in excess of 75 miles per hour, straight line winds that could come out of thunderstorms. And Jackson's unlikely. Just north of there in Yazoo City, you've got that possibility. Let's time it out. This is a forecast, not a current situation, but a forecast getting you in through today. And you can see through 2 o'clock this afternoon, we are in these rounds of storms. Even in through this evening, we're not quite done just yet. The mid-level low still has to scoot on by here. So I wouldn't say until tonight at about 11 or 12 o'clock can we really give you the all clear in Jackson. Though the worst of the weather, I think at least the most widespread, will be over the next several hours into the afternoon. All right, New Orleans, quick check here. I want to give you the latest severe thunderstorm warning that is still present for you. These storms have been hanging out overhead, and we get, Alex, a number of new warnings that we've been tracking here along that leading edge of that line, that bow echo that we're tracking here, moving towards the east from the west here. It's a mess on the radar.
It really is. The wild storm.
Let's look at some of the issues that we have. We have flood risks out there with numerous flash flood warnings all the way up to Tupelo in Mississippi, stretched back towards Jackson and across northern Louisiana. Charles Peak is right here. He's in a flash flood warning, and you can really get a sense of how heavy that rain was from his vantage point. We have his camera still up so you can see it on the screen, so we can literally match what's happening on the ground truth to the radar. He is right in this bright orange on the radar. And there's still one more color level to go, the red. So believe it or not, the rain could be even heavier. And in fact, that's getting into him right now. In fact, let's see. Yeah, I'm peeking off of the screen too with you guys. Very heavy rainfall coming on down. Flash flood warning is up. This includes parts of I-55. Travelers, if you can avoid it, you don't want to be driving in that. You can barely see the car in front of you. So we're watching that right here for travelers along Interstate 55. One of the spots. I-10 has been another really tough go of it. We've got numerous flash flood warnings as well as severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect. New Orleans, okay, we're in a break now. And you can see the severe thunderstorm warning is just a tiny sliver of it in parts of Orleans Parish. It does still have tornado possible. This includes parts of the 510 and 11, Route 11. We're watching, though, a flash flood warning in New Orleans. And, even when the rain ends sometimes, there are still some risks that are ongoing from flash flooding. The water doesn't always let go right away. And then jumping south here, another severe thunderstorm warning for you in Ascension, St. James, and St. John the Baptist Parish with that risk for strong, damaging winds. Alex.
All right, certainly going to be western Texas now through Louisiana, getting into Mississippi. Still ongoing thunderstorms. In fact, we're going to keep an eye on these areas here, shaded in the red from Mississippi down through Louisiana. Tornado watch until 1 o'clock Central Time.
And you notice areas like Charles and Alexandria have been cut out of it here. So the threat has moved east, and so that back edge has been cut out. But Hattiesburg, where Mike Seidel will be reporting live from here in less than 2 hours, he'll give us an update on what's going on in that area. A lot of warnings, a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings right now.
And they're kind of lining up with the storms themselves. Look at the area of storms, that kind of line that stretches from just north and west of Macomb all the way down here to north and east of Morgan City, or I should say north and west of New Orleans. That whole area is severe warned for the potential for damaging wind gusts.
They're taking the shape of the line, which is that backwards shaped C, or that arc. And so damaging winds going to be the main concern. Earlier today, there was that risk of winds maybe in excess of 80 miles per hour. Doesn't seem like that is the risk anymore. It's, I would say, more like 60 mile per hour plus winds that have the potential for.
So here's one of the warnings here for us as we head again. This is in Louisiana, parts of Ascension, St. James, St. John the Baptist parishes here until 10 o'clock. Damaging wind threat is going to be one of the things that we face. This is also an area you can see outlined in green. Flash flood warning. So that's another risk that we're facing with these storms. They're dumping a lot of rain.
Yeah, big rainfall rates here. Very tough for driving in here. You can see we got Charles Peake's camera up. He's in Tangipahoa Parish, and sheets of rain coming down. The visibility is just so terrible. Hammond also under a flash flood warning, as well as the east side of town, a severe thunderstorm warning. And so we've got this large one right here for St. Tammany, Tangipahoa, and Washington Parish. That does include Pearl River County, too, into Mississippi.
And you notice the threat on that is considerable. Again, those damaging winds, a real threat that we are facing, maybe approaching 70 miles per hour in the case here with these storms now pushing just east of Hammond.
This is probably the most intense part of the line right here. So again, just coming through Hammond, pressing east. Picayune, you were under a tornado warning. That was allowed to expire, but now you're under a severe thunderstorm warning, and we're tracking a lot of heavy rain through this area with numerous flash flood warnings.
Yeah, it is a busy early part of our day. Dr. Fussell, you're watching how this is all progressing.
What we're finding now, what we're going to find today here, there's a lot of spots you're going to want to avoid to travel. We know that once the water gets in there, sometimes it takes some time for it to recede. Flood watches are up eastern Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, into most of Mississippi, Alabama, central and southern, Florida Panhandle, and then that southwest corner of Georgia. These areas have already had some big rainfall. Eastern Texas, you got a lot of yours yesterday, but there's still some lingering problems there. Let's go into Louisiana, though, where we have a number of flash flood warnings that are up right now. So we've put the warnings, which are in the bright green outlines, with the radar estimated rainfall as the background color. We have a flash flood emergency, and even though the rain has actually ended there at the moment, we're watching eastern Texas around Jasper, just south of there. That's where we have a flash flood emergency, thanks to the inches of rain, 3 to 5 inches. There are spots that have had more than 5 inches, and you look over what we're dealing with here just in recent last 2 hours from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. Very heavy rain has come down, and we are seeing the reports come in from it. So around Baton Rouge and around Hammond, we've had reports of flooding happening. New Orleans, we've had some flooding, about 6 inches of standing water on the canal near the Sanger Theater right here in New Orleans. Into Hammond we go with reports of street flooding coming in, with roads are closed, vehicles are stranded. Again, this rainfall just came in with some big rates, and that's often what drives flash flooding, is the rain that comes down at big rates, and the areas just can't keep up with it, and unfortunately flooding happens. We've got a large zone to watch today still across, I'd say, from 20 southbound, southward here. You're looking at this area that includes Mobile, even Montgomery later today. We'll see some of this. In the short term, it is New Orleans getting the brunt of it right now, with more rain and storms to come. We'll see that through this afternoon, and then keep an eye on Mobile, Pensacola, and eventually Tallahassee.
Here, in and across a good chunk of Louisiana into now Mississippi as we're dealing with these thunderstorms moving on through. It's a zone which is right now under a tornado watch. Anywhere you see that red showing up, including Jackson, down towards Hattiesburg, New Orleans as well, tornado watch until 1 o'clock.
All right, so we're keeping an eye on thunderstorms that have been ongoing this morning. They've been bringing all the threats. We've seen a lot of reports, actually, of damage. Now, in terms of what it caused, it was most likely strong damaging winds, because that's what we've seen the most of. We've got the line itself here, kind of congealing with the storms that are coming up out ahead of the line, now approaching the New Orleans area and Lake Pontchartrain.
So we kind of time out the leading edge of that kind of main line of thunderstorms as it will be racing on off towards the east. Hattiesburg here as we get to about 10:19. That'll be right on top of you there. Laurel, Mississippi, 10:34. Biloxi could be in line to deal with these storms as we approach 11 o'clock, and even Pascagoula as we get to around 11:20. Now, some of those cities, including Hattiesburg, Pascagoula, not under any warnings right now, but that whole line is headed in your direction. So we'll just give you a heads up on the timing of when you can expect conditions to go downhill.
We're watching into the New Orleans area. These thunderstorms are just off to the north. And we've already been in it this morning. There's still more to come. And you can see some of the tallest ones actually right over Lake Pontchartrain, really dropping some pretty heavy rainfall.
Yeah, so it is definitely a tough time here for us, having to contend with these showers as well as thunderstorms continue to race on off towards the east. Want to check in on what's going on with these thunderstorms and what we can expect here for the rest of the day. Dr. Postel, as we watch how everything moves off towards the east, we've talked about how the threat maybe not as far north, but kind of hugging the Gulf coastal zone.
Yeah, our severe weather threat is going to be controlled where this weather system that you guys were talking about, where it goes from here. I think areas to the north of it, not likely to see severe weather. The air mass is going to be too stable, I think, overall.
Yeah, the MCV, or the mesostyle convective vortex that we've been tracking, that's really been driving a lot of the strongest winds this morning. Do you think we're going to see more activity out ahead of that?
It may happen. Yeah, the air mass is unstable enough, and there's some suggestion that there indeed will be thunderstorm development out ahead of it. We have to watch that. That's kind of a real-time forecasting mode. Kind of a nowcasting issue for us.
Is right now. So let's get you into both of those. First stop, the tornado watch. The old watch over here, new watch extends now into Alabama. So now we're talking about southwestern Alabama, parts of the Florida Panhandle that's included in this. Pensacola, Mobile, all under that tornado watch. This new one extends until 5 o'clock this afternoon here. And again, we have the old one, too. That does include New Orleans and Hattiesburg, where Mike Seidel will be reporting live from here coming up at noon Eastern, 11 Central. Let's go ahead and look at the radar. We've got an active line of storms out there, a number of warnings along with it. So we've got the line itself. I want to point this out before I zoom in. The line itself that we've been talking a lot about, but then out ahead of it, we're getting these cells that are moving out ahead of it from south to north, and those are the ones that are most likely to have some rotation with it. We've been monitoring the line for any little spots of rotation along it, but the cells that move out ahead of the line have that risk, I think, even more so. And we do have this new tornado warning out there. This is the second one of the day for Picayune, second one of the day for Pearl River County, Hancock County also included in that, and St. Tammany as well. So that's the area that we're looking at. This goes until 10:45 local time. Watching within this. So this is the background here are some of the winds that we are dealing with. This area right in here is where there is that apparent rotation based on radar. The radar indicated warning. This is tracking up towards the north. Remember, we've got a whole line of thunderstorms off to our west. That's going to be coming in, but we got to watch this portion of the cell that is tracking to the north and east. So we can time that out for you. Pearl River, it's about here, 10:02. Picayune, 10:17. Then we take you up here to Azona at 10:23. And then even just outside, or just right on the edge of that warning area, McNeil, 10:31, if indeed that rotation does hold together. So keeping watch on that very closely. A lot of heavy rain. This is the reflectivity, so showing us where the rain is heaviest within the warned area. I mean, you would not be able to see the tornado. There's so much rain, really reducing visibility. The rain has just been torrential. So if you're under the warning, communities like Pearl River and up towards Picayune, you need to be inside your safe shelter. I know there's not basements here, so it's either a storm shelter or it's an interior room, an inside closet, an inside bathroom, putting as many walls between you and the outside as possible. That is the safest place to be. Now, the storm threat from winds are also significant. We could see some very strong winds coming out of these thunderstorms, not because of a tornado, but straight line winds. And Hattiesburg now under a severe thunderstorm warning. This goes until 11 a.m. So we're tracking this line coming in and moving towards the east. I know it's a complicated kind of situation out there today. You got a lot coming at you from different directions. Let's look at that warning again for us here around the Hattiesburg area and track it as we continue to watch this line push from west to east. In Maggie, 10:08, Hattiesburg, 10:23, Laurel, 10:39. We track it out to Waynesboro at 11:06, and even outside of the warned area, Fruitdale, 11:15, as we track that line of storms. Strong damaging winds, 60 or 70 miles per hour, plus the heavy rainfall. And Greg, it seems like in every community, the wind threat comes in first, and then to what we are finding on the radar right down here with numerous tornado and severe thunderstorm and flash flood warnings. So a very active start here to your day. It has been nonstop as we've been tracking this east. So here now in St. Tammany Parish, there is a tornado warning. This goes until 11 o'clock. This does include Gulfport and then Long Beach and Slidell in Mississippi. That's parts of Hancock and Harrison counties and parts of St. Tammany Parish in Louisiana. So again, watching this from Slidell, we're watching all of this tracking towards the north and east. The other tornado warning is still also in effect too, which includes Picayune. This is moving at 65 miles per hour. Very fast-moving storms through this area, blasting in, and just the forward speed itself is bringing part of that wind energy. We've got New Orleans timing it out for you. We're in the thick of it right now. We are going to continue with these thunderstorms. Again, all threats are with us. Severe thunderstorm winds, tornado, as well as that risk of very heavy rainfall. And we're watching this through this afternoon. I mean, Baton Rouge, you got some fierce winds about an hour ago. We're still not done yet, and we'll still have some chances into the afternoon of some storms popping. Certainly will be much less widespread than we see right now, but we won't be done until really overnight tonight. All right, Biloxi. We don't have a warning right now, but it is just off to our west. So monitoring your situation very closely. Mobile as well. We'll be watching all of this invecting in as we get through the next 2 hours. We are under a 5 on the Torcon in Mobile, a 7 in Hattiesburg and Biloxi, which Hattiesburg is where we'll get live reports from Mike Seidel coming up. And we're very likely not just to have that tornado threat, but also some very strong straight line wind potential here as storms blast on in. Possibly in excess of 75. That's the kind of atmosphere that we are working with here. It has a lot of wind energy, especially down here towards the Gulf Coast. So this is the forecast radar. We're watching through the afternoon. This is 1 o'clock. Maybe all of this coming on in Pensacola soon after that here and continuing to push east as we get through the evening hours. The flood threat, of course, Alex, is something we'll have to continue to watch today, but also into tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right, because